One of the chassis we rarely discuss on the channel is the W220 S Class, the follow-up to the legendary W140 from the 1990s. The W140 S Class set a standard not yet achieved by Mercedes in the 1990s. Technology, elegance, safety features, pushing the boundaries of what was previously perceived as possible with luxury cars. So following up this masterpiece, which by the way cost upwards of $1 billion to develop in the late 80s, which is mind-bending on its own, was quite a task for Mercedes. The W220 was the fourth generation S-Class and development started in 1992. The flagship sedan was designed by the late Bruno Sacco, the man behind many designs we love from the 80s and 90s. Sacco would add his magic touch to the W220, bringing his design language into the new millennium. The final design was approved in June of 1995 under the direction of Steve Matin, who also collaborated with Sacco on a W210 chassis around the same time. Pre-production of the W220 began in 1997, followed by standard production in 1998 when it was offered to the public. The interior was more luxurious than the previous S-Class, paired with smoother, more rounded body lines and a more elegant aura than the boxy W140. The W220 was a major hit when it was released, and many businessmen rushed to trade in their former flagship for the latest and greatest Mercedes of the time. The W220 came with a range of engine sizes, starting as small as 2.8 liters with the V6 to 5-liter V8s to 5.5-liter twin turbocharged V12s, which is what I'm driving today. AMG also modified motors from 5 liters to 5.5 with the S55, and the V12s had 6-liter motors with the S65 paired with the twin biturbo. But other modification options were available from a US tuning company based in Florida called Renntech, who pushed the limits of Mercedes engines since the early 90s with examples like the SL74, a 6-liter V12 bored out to 7.4 liters. So we know Renntech's ability to modify engines is up there with the greatest tuners like AMG and Brabus. This 2003 S600 I'm driving today actually belonged to our good friend Christian, who works at Renntech and modified this W220 starting with the M275 engine. The motor got a Renntech ECU tune, taking it from 493 horsepower to a whopping 640 horsepower with 780 pounds of torque. Renntech also performed a TCU tune on the transmission to keep up with the upgraded power output and improve overall performance. It was also fitted with dual intercoolers and intercooler pump upgrade kit. The car was lowered, but other than that, the body was kept fully stock. Let's park this S600 and take a closer look at the ins and outs of the early 2000s flagship. As we start at the front of this W220, first thing we see is this beautiful obsidian black, a deep black paint that they used to use on the W140 with the 040 paint. The 197U code for the W220 is the obsidian black, and it is the early 2000s version of the S-Class with these lights that kind of flow through the body. And speaking of the headlights, these are the facelift version. The facelift headlights are redesigned with a clearer lens and improved by xenon technology compared to the early 2000 to 2002 models. You have the grille from the S-Class, which we always have to have, that grille that demands respect wherever it pulls up. And of course, the Mercedes star. Starting at the front bumper, like we always do, we have the stock W220 front bumper with a slight modification here, the grille removed, exposing the larger oil and water coolers added by Renntech. And this is one of the telltales of this sleeper. When it pulls up at a light, you might be able to tell this is not a stock car. Now, if you don't know what you're looking for, you might not realize it, but the guys who know, they know what this is right here. Moving along to the side of the W220, we see the long wheelbase measuring 203.1 inches long. Now this is crazy long, but that's what it's all about. This flagship was about presidential feel wherever you went, and it demanded presence. we see these wheels, a beautiful touch to the W220s. The wheels are 18-inch Segin wheels finished in a high sheen polish. These were the stock W220 S600 wheels available for the North American market. It really looks great. Actually accentuate the body lines on the W220 quite well. Another thing we notice is the ride height here, adjusted by the previous owner. The ride height is immaculate, very on point. Moving along to the side, we see the V12 badge, something that Mercedes used to stick on all their V12 cars, from the SL to the W140, the W220, so on and so forth. On the previous W140, we had it on the back pillar. Here they added it on the front fender. Of course, we have to have the usual chrome on black. This is the usual suspect whenever an S-Class pulls up around the world. The S-Class is known kind of for that black and chrome combo. Once again, the 18-inch Segin wheels in high sheen polish, an incredible look. Moving along to the back, we have this new design by Bruno Sacco, something really smooth, a different touch to the S-Class, a departure from the 1990s with the boxy look. Now we're going for the smooth 2000s looks, and this is the future right here. And you had to have your Renntech badge whenever you upgraded your vehicle. Now, this car is a sleeper. If it pulled up at a light, you would not know this is a special tuned vehicle. This is the only telltale right here, the Renntech badge on the back. An obvious telltale if you know what you're looking for, but most people do not know about Renntech. So that's why we're here to educate the masses. Renntech, another incredible tuner straight from Florida. We had to have the dual exhaust for the twin turbocharged V12 5.5 liter engine, and we're going to get to that in a second. But for now, we're just enjoying the back of this 220. What a gorgeous look, something timeless, something that went kind of out of style for a while, but are making a strong comeback right now. We're seeing these values rising every day, so make sure to grab one while you can, while the prices are still reasonable. This is the closest thing to the Maybach of the era, this long body and the styling very similar to the early Maybachs from the 2000s. But you really feel the difference between the W140 and the W220 when you step inside. Right away, we're greeted with these ultra luxury seats, something very plush, and you feel very comfortable. You can sit here for hours and not feel it. This car is different than your average S-Class. You could really feel that Mercedes was trying to step it up and engage with that market that was buying high-end luxury cars at the time more than ever. And you really see it in here. The technology paired with the elegance, paired with the design, and the comfort in these seats is incredible. Now you have some major upgrades from the 140 in here as well. Starting with the seats, you see here we have heated seats as well as cooled seats. Now this option came in the S600 and it's something you actually wanted to have in this car, because in the Florida heat, you could really feel the difference when you turn on the cooled seats. Any hot climate. Cooled seats in the early 2000s is a crazy upgrade from the usual seats that Mercedes offered before that. Another interesting placement in the interior is where they placed the control for all the windows down by the driver's side. You can't really access the windows like you did in the 140 where it was in the center console. Now they put it on the door, something different. The W220, another quirk. And we can see here the dash was starting to evolve into something more flowy. You see the curve in the dash. The previous dashboards were more straightforward. These have more of a flow to them, and that's a style that they carried on into the modern S-Classes of today. You see today's S-Classes, very curvy interiors, and of course, lots of electronics. Well, this was the beginning of that era. You have dual climate control here for both the passenger and the driver. Now, all the Maybach comparisons really come into play when you get into the back seat of this car right here. And this is where it's at. When you're sitting in the W220, this is where it's at in the back seat. A lot of dignitaries and presidents sat back here. Lots of legroom, lots of luxurious amenities. You have mirrors up here. You have all types of luxurious amenities back here to make you feel like the dignitary and the VIP that you are. Dual air climate control in the back. Very comfortable seats. Once again, cooling seats and heating seats in the back. A cool ashtray here that's built into the door. Some great engineering by Mercedes. Japan loved this car, the Middle East loved this car, America, of course, all markets, because it was the new standard for Mercedes. And you really feel it back here. This seat is all the way back almost. We're still very comfortable back here. Mercedes was really going above and beyond. It's hard not to feel special in the back of this S-Class. Also, little refinement touches like this right here. You can have your shading. It is what it is, man. You wanted to live big in the early 2000s, the W220 was the way. And that's what the S-Class was about, man. Those little touches, those little refinements that made you feel that much more special. One of the coolest features in the back seat is probably sitting behind the passenger. Let's cut to that right now. Now, one of the coolest features on the Maybach back seat is you could move the front passenger seat from back here. Now, you could not move the front driver's seat. That would be hazardous during driving. But back here, if you're sitting behind the passenger, you could actually select which seat you want to move. Choosing the front, you can move the front seat. There it is right there. So that's one of the coolest features in the W220, something that a president or someone of a high authority would like to have at his fingertips. We spoke about the engine, and now we have to see the masterpiece that's under the hood, and let's see what Renntech did to it. Boom, there it is. This is what ties it all in right here. The M275, the 5.5 liter twin turbocharged masterpiece by Mercedes, further refined by Renntech, and they did an amazing job on this. 640 horsepower on this beast right here, faster than most cars in that era. Ferraris, you name it. V12 Ferraris at the time only had 651 horsepower. This is crazy. Inside this flagship, you really feel the difference. They did the remapping on the engine, the TCU mapping on the transmission, and all in concert create this amazing orchestra of power, all at your fingertips. And under the cover of the M275 V12 is the dual intercooler and intercooler pump upgrades added by Renntech, not visible to the naked eye. All right, now speaking of power, let's take it back on the road and see what it feels like to time travel in a modern day time machine. The W220, like the W210, has gone through a period of obscurity in the past decade, but is now making a comeback, and the presence can be felt whenever pulling up next to this massive flagship, especially the long wheelbase models. The part I love the most about the W220 is the feeling of sitting in the interior. It's the closest experience to the early 2000s Maybach 57, with its ultra plush seats and all the tech that was available at the time at your fingertips. Thank you to the Mercedes engineers and Bruno Sacco for creating this masterpiece, and thank you to Renntech for taking it to a whole nother level. Rare models just like this one are popping up all the time on plushauto.com, so guys, make sure to check it out and pick something up for yourself. These W220s are going to be shooting up in value soon, so grab them while they're still affordable. Many movies in the early 2000s featured the W220. This car was a major hit and it looked incredible when it came out. It was very futuristic and it really kickstarted this new era of smoother Mercedes lines that we see all the way today in the 2026 versions. Now, another cool feature added to the W220 that set it apart from the previous S Class was the adaptive ABC suspension, which offered an ABC Sport mode, which would have a more firm driving experience for the driver. And you also had an option to raise the vehicle, all the touch of a button, something that the previous flagships did not have. Of course, we have soft closing doors and trunk and other appointments that moved from the W140 onto the W220, all developed in the early 80s and refined in the early 2000s. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video to let people know the greatness of the early 2000s flagship.